Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Jordan with Poison Noises. I got my guy Jay here. We're doing a demo video on actually the first pedal in the series, which is the Gluttonous Fuzz. This is the standard version of the pedal with only 2 controls and the on-off switch. Our current rig rundown right now is Jay's playing through a 2000 standard American Stratocaster loaded with Fat 50 pickups, and then we're running that into our Mortley tripler, which goes out to a series of a couple of different amps that we're going to be showcasing for you guys to get a couple of different flavors of this pedal. First amp that we have on the line is it's a Fender 4x10 DeVille. After that, we got a Vox AC30, and followed by brand new Plexi. brand new old Plexi.
Brand new old Plexi
that Jay just picked up himself and is we're using for the video.
So we're gonna start with the Fender.
I think that's probably the move, right?
Cool.
So we'll start with.
Let's do clean. Here's a clean signal with the Fender. All right. It's a hot rod DeVille, right?
Yep.
410s. Cool. Sweet. So this guy right here, where are we gonna start? Should we start around noon?
I mean, that's usually
get a good grab.
Sure, absolutely.
So one thing I noticed, I've had a minute to play around with this thing. One thing I did notice is it really reacts well, especially with this amp. It reacts really differently to different amps. And with the Fender amp, I've noticed that it really reacts well to volume control. So if I start with the volume back, right here, we're not going to get much noise, which is huge. That's one nice thing. When you go on and click on a pedal with this kind of saturation, it's nice to be able to know that it's not going to just instantly be, whoa, unless you want it like that. Okay, we'll get there later. So, first things first, volume back on the guitar. I'm on the neck pickup. You get these sort of kind of stanky, bluesy, you know. Really tasty, you know what I mean? So obviously, roll it up all the way, you're going to get a little more. Now, when it comes to the pedal, you'll see there's a more and a even more. That's what I like to see on a fuzz pedal. So first things first. I mean, I think it's only right. What do you do with a fuzz pedal? You just crank it. Right. That's the way I use it.
How this pedal's made to be.
Right? Crank this thing up. So now we got the more all the way up. I imagine that's going to be something that kind of bounces to a dry signal. So there's dry again. Volume all the way up. Oof, that's tasty.
She's mean.
That sounds good. So, might as well.
Right. Well, this is how the pedal really is designed to work. Is everything opened all the way up? What's neat about the pedal actually is that aside from the actual fuzz circuit itself, every other circuit in this is passive. It doesn't require any power, so you don't really get any flavor or any timbre changes from adjusting things aside from what the actual knob does itself. More obviously being more of an amplitude control on the pedal is just going to roll it off. Turned all the way up, it's just the fuzz circuit wide open, which happens to be significantly louder than a regular line signal you're going to get out of it for sure. But the even more itself is actually just a tone roll off, so you actually don't get anything added to the original tone circuit when it's cranked all the way.
So it's just not filtering anything out. That makes sense.
That's how it goes.
That makes sense. Give me a different amp here. What do we got? What we got for different amps? That sounds great.
I want to switch it to the AC30.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. AC30. And these are greenbacks.
And this one? Yeah, I believe they are.
A little bit noisier. octave, almost harmonic thing. It's almost gives you the illusion in your ear like an octafuzz would, you know, and it kind of has that similar feel.
Right.
Which is,
well,
which is
everything you get tonally out of this pedal is theoretically just the boosted effects of your rig already. For without using the word transparent, I mean that really is what it's supposed to be in a pedal. It's supposed to be something that just kind of embellishes on what's already beautiful about the rig that you have now. We're very fortunate to have some nice guitars and some nice amps right now, for sure, but it only just makes them sound that much better.
Yeah.
And with those kind of boosted harmonics, the one you're going to hear the most present is definitely going to be the octave for sure.
Yeah.
Which is perfect for a fuzz. It's just kind of it's not necessarily wasn't necessarily the goal, but it's definitely a happy side effect that comes from that pedal.
Just
for sure.
just so you guys know where we're at as far as where we have our amp set up, I'm gonna turn this off real quick. Give you the AC30 by itself. I think it's driven, a little gritty. With a lot different than the Fender. Obviously, it was much cleaner. So this way you get an idea depending on what kind of amp you're running.
Sure.
This thing reacts really different to different amps. It's a lot of fuzz pedals have this thing where they tend to give you a sound and that's the sound. This thing's gonna really change depending on what you're running. So pay attention to that part of this. So this is AC30 clean sound with the Strat on the neck pickup. You get this sort of. Sort of a sweet bluesy kind of rock and roll. Click that down.
Making some stink faces.
A lot of
over
stain,
here right
yeah.
now.
Lots of stain, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really an interesting sort of pedal because I definitely get sort of, at least with this guitar too, that high sort of, I don't know if you would say like, it is really almost reminiscent of the octavuzz. Sure. It's like what was it, harmonic?
It's harmonics, yeah. I mean that's what it comes.
I'm gonna plug into a Les Paul just to see.
To give the Marshall a go.
Yeah, see what the difference is here.
Tell us about your guitar.
So this is probably my number one right here. It's a 2016 custom shop R8 58 reissue, and it's just sweet.
She wails.
Just sweet. Nothing like it, man. Nothing like a good Les Paul, man. This is how it goes.
What amp you want me to give you?
Well, just for comparison, the last sound we listened to was the AC30.
Sure.
So, why don't you hit me with that? A lot hotter pickups.
Sure.
You can really tell it's got a little more
push.
gargly.
Yeah,
it's a little gargly. That's fucking delicious. That's delicious.
Right. That's new.
That's sick, yeah.
All right, well, do you want to give this thing a run into the Marshall real quick?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so the last amp is a 1987X. It's a 50-watt, 4-hole plexi-style reissue. Going in some good old greenbacks. So let's see what she does. Yeah, click it on. So, clean signal. Not really that clean, obviously. It's plexi, Yeah, this is the sound. That's what you get.
Little dirt.
Sweet sound, yeah, definitely pretty stanky.
Right,
Give it to me.
tell you before, because I want to ask you. You know, obviously you've had some time to play with them and open them up and stuff for sure. But one thing I definitely want to say, because I have my own personal favorite flavor of this for sure.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing it with the Strat before, but it totally works with the Les Paul as well. You know, obviously we got kind of more of a brighter timbre out of that Fender. That's kind of where we're getting
Yes,
that.
the Fender is definitely. I mean, that's the amp that you built it around.
That is the amp the amp was brand new to me when I started building the circuit,
Yeah.
so I was playing with it a lot for sure. But one thing, personally, I like a whole lot. I pretty much always have the volume pushed all the way. I like the hard input signal.
What kind of sound were you going for when you built this thing?
So, well, this was, you know, in all transparency and honesty, it's my first build, and I kind of just, you know, feel like I kind of knocked it out of the park, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
It kind of worked out
I've
that way.
definitely
for
wanted
sure.
it on my board.
Yeah. I mean, my first objective for this was not actually even at this stage. It actually didn't originally have these controls on it whatsoever. But I just kind of wanted real straightforward hot fuzz that was pretty transparent, but just kind of felt pushed. You know what I mean? That's what I wanted. Hard square wave clipping, and I wanted to have it in its most raw form, and that's kind of what I got out of this.
It definitely feels raw. It's a screaming kind of pedal. I mean, it definitely. You know, some pedals you play like how you normally would play. Some pedals make you play different, and this is one of those pedals you kind of have to adapt to the pedal. You click that thing on, it makes you play different. You know, and
Absolutely.
And that's a thing in its own. You know what I mean? If that's what you're going for, this is definitely, you know, if you're looking for something to give you inspiration, this is definitely down that road.
So I do want to say my favorite setting that I actually like on is I like cranking the volume all the way open up, and then I actually take the even more knob and I'll roll back some of the highs into an amp that has a pretty high output already in the higher register and frequencies.
Well, like you're used to the Strat with the Fender, right? Should we try that?
All right, might as well. I mean, we have the guitar here
back,
already.
You know
Throw that
I mean?
back, and not to change the guitar out a million times.
No.
So what I like to do is I'll actually I'll start it wide open, click us on the Fender, and then kind of roll it off until I find that sweet spot.
Okay.
Because when you start to roll off the high end on this thing, it kind of just becomes more of a meaty rhythm fuzz, I guess. You know what I mean? Is the way to put it.
You get a sort of big muff, sort of.
Absolutely, you know, and that's
that chunkiness.
And that's a tone circuit I'm quite fond of, you know what I mean, that they have in there, but I like it for, not for the harshness you get on the high end, but for the actual meat you can get out of it when you roll stuff off. So let's give that a shot real quick. You can go ahead and play as soon as I click this on, I'll start rolling some stuff off.
So that's just Fender amp, right?
Correct. Let's give it some push.
I did notice too. As soon as you did that, it really made any of the excess. Go pop the amp back on, right? No mute. It really cut down on any of the excess. From there to there, in here is noticeable. You know, when I was playing, it was noticeable. I felt like that difference really felt noticeable when I was playing.
Absolutely,
which is kind of neat. It's just thick. It's just a thick sound.
And you know,
for a single coil
and
guitar.
that's kind of the idea. You know, I primarily play this guitar in the fourth position. You know what I mean? Is where
okay,
it is,
so that kind of jangly.
Give it a little bit of beef. You know what I mean? More so than just in fifth. But but yeah, rolling that back a little bit really does give it more of a rhythm player feel. You can fill a space bigger, you know what I mean? And it's not necessarily as aggressive or forthcoming in a mix, especially when recorded. So, but yeah, I mean, so let me ask you this in closing for this stage of the pedal, what's your favorite setting that you had it on between what we had set up?
For me, I mean, I think the most usable way that I would do it, like, you know, I'm playing most of the time, I guess I'm playing more traditional style classic rock stuff.
Sure.
You know, bluesy classic rock. Kind of, you know, more broad range rather than something particularly, you know, like in your fucking face, if that's the sound I want, you know what I mean? I like it honestly through the Fender, which makes sense because that's how you had it built. And I like it with the all the way up, both settings, and the volume back on the guitar a little.
Yeah,
it just makes a really great overdrive sort of tone, and it's cool that I can roll the volume up all the way and have the sort of sustain that I want for some of those big leads. Absolutely. You know what I mean? That's huge. So, this is all over here. Pop me back on that Fender real quick. it's
It's interesting though. You're right, because you're playing kind of softer with your fingers. The more you dig into this, it reacts to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of that is the idea. To be honest, that's really what I was going for. Something that I like being able to control stuff with my hands while I'm playing. You know what I mean? And it definitely
huge.
does that for sure. I'm also kind of down with the simplicity of the pedal in itself for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
In terms of what it is.
especially fuzz pedals. You know what I mean? You know, some guys. I mean, I'm personally one of those dudes that doesn't like a lot going on with my pedal,
Right.
as far as all sorts of different, presets, stuff like that. I'm not into that.
That's why I called you here.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I like something simple. You press it, it does a sound, it does a thing, and that's what it's used for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Wide open.
And this is definitely one of
That's
those
how it
pedals.
does it, for
So,
sure. All right,
Cool,
cool. Well, I definitely want to show some of the other stages of that too, so we'll set that up and get right back to it.